breaks through. Speaking of all-time greats, what a goal. How good is he?
If you're David Mundy, you can do anything.
Brayshaw. Oh, he goose stepped beautifully. And a couple. Herky jerky, shake and bake. Magnificent.
Welcome back to the Flagmantle podcast, episode 17 for this year, Real Car.
Mate,
I'm
Stewie.
so excited to be here.
It sure is indeed, mate. I'm super excited. We've got a very special guest. Upcoming talent.
Oh,
yeah,
hugely
for
talented.
For sure. We've got none other than Anthony Bellouard, mate. Is it Bellouard, if I said it right?
Bellouard, close
Bellouard?
enough, yeah.
Oh, sorry, guys. Yeah, my name's
Close
pretty
enough.
hard to pronounce. Mate, so the Atheletes Mind podcast, it's gone through the roof.
Yeah.
Pleasure. How did it all start?
Yeah, just want to first say thanks for having me on, boys.
No,
Big
it's
fan.
all right.
Oh, thanks for coming.
Yeah, been following you guys for a while.
We're the big
so-
fans, mate.
Yeah.
No, we've seen this guy come out of nowhere. Like, whoa, jeez, got to get him on. Damn.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So, with the Atheletes Mind, like, it really all started last year. So, when I was in year 11, I'm in year 12 now. Started it pretty early. So with me, I'm quite a sporty person. I'm very involved in my sport. I've done the whole bunch. I get made fun of it quite a bit, actually, because I jump from soccer to footy to basketball, boxing,
Jeez, mate.
you name it.
Man of talent.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
I'm not great at all of them, but yeah, definitely, jumped around the sports, and I've always been interested in media as well. So it sort of came about where I was really focused on my media and also really focused on my sport, where I had to make the choice, what do I focus on? Do I focus on sport or media? I couldn't do both. It became really, draining on me.
Yeah.
So then the idea sort of hit me, why don't I try and combine them? You know
Wow.
what I mean?
I love
So, that's when the podcast idea, I've seen a lot of guys doing podcasts, like even you guys, Flagmantle, that's...
It just happened.
Let's
It-
go.
It actually just happened out of nowhere. And podcasts, it's amazing how like WA is just like come out of nowhere. We've got so many upcoming talents. With
It's booming.
it's crazy how just a little thought and a little bit of effort just to meet up, and it happened. And
100%. Because
it's
like
good.
I was thinking like, what sort of content do I actually want to do? And like I see like Bray and Ethan, they were I've been following them.
Great
you
potty.
guys, yeah, amazing those boys. And then started the podcast, and I was like, I should do a sport one. And then that's where the Athletes Mind name came about. And ever since been loving it. Got some cool athletes on, and I really enjoy it.
mate, it has been unprecedented how like great it has been. As you've managed to lock in a few extra guests. Just to name a few, I think Damian Martin's been on there. Mzungu, we're a big fan, mate.
I was listening to that
If
one
you
on the
didn't
way
mind.
over, actually. I was listening to Tenders. Yeah, good guess.
What are you stalking his potties now, mate? What's going on?
Well, I'm supposed to stalk his buddies. He's coming onto ours. And then there was also this one notable American high school girls basketball player. Can you tell us a bit more about who that is and why you got her on?
Yeah, so that was quite. I really enjoyed that one actually because it was one of the younger talents that we'd got on the podcast. Zulymar, her first name was. And yeah, she is a basketball up and coming, especially in the female basketball. Like another thing with the podcast, like we wanted to get the female perspective as well, which we started to do. And it was funny because her dad actually reached out to me. So
Right.
he emailed the Athletes Mind and was like, can we maybe get my daughter on? And I was like, you know what, 100%, get a different perspective. We haven't really had young athletes on. So, I thought it'd be great. Got her on, and she, for her age, I think she's 14 now.
14. Jeez.
Yeah, she spoke so well. Like, I was really surprised, when I was 14.
Media trained, I guess.
Yeah, honestly, because she's very involved in the media. And it was a different experience as well because she's obviously in America. And I've never done a overseas sort of interview like that, so it was a cool experience.
It worked well. I think it worked really well, and I think the way you started the podcast is such a great niche, and especially something that's really important around the sporting world at the moment with mental health issues. It's a very, very big. It's a huge impact on the AFL, not just the AFL. Every sporting
100%.
league there is, and you've hit a really good facet of the industry with your podcast. So. Is there any like ways you think there could be any potential rehabilitation or prevention programs that the AFL could potentially use, or if they could do it better, or if there's any ways you think yourself could expand on this?
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, like it's something that's the main focus of my podcast and the Athletes Mind. But I think it's just really talking about it more. Really, like it not just like focusing on the players, but also educating people outside of just athletes, like the fans, like to get them to understand what mental health issues athletes actually face. Because I feel like, especially in AFL, like when we interviewed Tendai Mzungu, he was actually told us that you know, Freo, all the AFL clubs are doing it now. They get professional psychologists on.
Watch that. Yeah, it's really good.
So that's like really good that, you know, the AFL starting to adapt that. They're, you know, having people in their team. So if an athlete or an AFL player is struggling or having, you know, they need to get something off their chest, they have the resources and people to talk to about it, which I think is really good. But there's still work that needs to be done. But with the Atheletes Mind, what my goal is to make a, you know, an environment where professional athletes can come on, talk about these issues that they face, so that the younger guys or the people that look up to them, so they can see, oh, he's doing it, maybe I can do it. And if they look up to them, then
that's a W. That's a win for your podcast. That's right. I huge respect for that, especially with the AFL right now. Do you also, quick question, with you know, concussion being a huge part of the AFL at the moment, it's, you know, been linked to, you know, potential mental health issues later on in life, especially with, you know, older players and all these players who played in 2000s, 80s, 90s, all these players, you know, suffering huge, you know, concussions in footy, and it's impacted them later on in life. And, you know, I think it was Gary Ablett Sr. who just recently, I think he sued the AFL or something like that. He will be suing the AFL for that. You know, controversy of him, you know, obviously, you know, doing it hard in the 80s and 90s, which he did. And it's just, I think it's fair, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it is. It's like, it's definitely starting to become a thing now. Like concussion, it's a real problem, especially in AFL. Like, I mean, even in NFL, like sports like that, it's becoming a real issue, like concussions, and obviously in the future leading to that mental health issue. It's a concern. Yeah. Like 100%. Like even early on in the season in AFL, I can't remember the name, but there's been a lot of concussions so far. Some players even, they might have to retire because of it.
Like Paddy McCartan.
Poor
fella.
That's
the name.
Yeah.
That's
it was that Eagles fella who sadly had to...
Venables.
Venables.
Yeah.
So it's stuff like that. And it's a concern 100%.
With mental health in mind, as footy fans, we are quite passionate, and we do like to have a go at certain players. And recently, I think the one to note is Jason Horne-Francis. Have you seen the booing stuff surrounding him?
Yeah.
Do you think that is something that needs to be rubbed out of our game, or is football sort of an acceptable space for this to...
Here's the thing with that. As Australians, not just in sport, but as Australians, I think there is that sense of banter and, you know, a bit of...
It's underlined in our culture.
It is.
It's always been there.
It is.
Always will be.
Yeah, so, you know, but I feel like there's a line. You know, you don't want to... A young kid, Jason Horne-Francis, he's, what is he, 19 now?
Yeah, he's only 19, is our age.
He's younger
it's
than
my
me,
age,
bro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you picture that, a young kid, you know, 19, he's gone into the league and he's copying things. Imagine him going on social media, the comments, the people booing, stuff like that. Like, sure, he's young, he makes mistakes, but...
I'd delete my social media, 100%.
Yeah,
after that.
Yeah, I would as well. You know, you need to stay away from it if that sort of stuff is happening. But, yeah, I think fans need to realise he's only a kid. Like, he's young.
All you can do is, I love what Ken Hinckley's done and, you know, got himself around the lad and, you know, given that encouragement, if there's like any sort of words of encouragement that you could, you know, pass on to Jason Horne-Francis, because he gets a lot of flack, doesn't he not?
Yeah.
You know, just because he left the club, that's up to, you know, his entire, you know, his option, I guess, at the end of the day. But yeah, it's definitely a big talking point in the future. Stewie, did you want to get into just a few icebreaker questions, like a little quick fires?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Because, you know, we just want to get a bit to know you, because you're here on the potty, mate. So we want to get to, you know, a few things. Do you support, obviously, AFL? Which team you get behind? And it's probably a big hint that you got the Sizzlers, the West Coast Sizzlers on your athlete's foot.
Yeah, so I am a West Coast fan. West Coast Eagles.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, a bit of rivalry. Yeah, look, my dad was passed on to me as it happens, you know, but yeah, believe it or not, I'm not just saying this because I'm here on the podcast. I genuinely do have like respect for Freo. I like what they do. Obviously, there's rivalry.
Sorry,
He loves that one.
I'm sorry, mate. It's the elevator music.
No, I love it.
No, huge respect. All right, back to seriousness.
Yeah.
100%.
Yes.
With the West Coast this year, a little quick little reflection on West Coast. WA, teams. We aren't doing
WA
footy, Brad.
footy's in a bit of shambles.
We're going to get
at the
into
moment.
a pod after this. We're going to get in depth with Freo a bit
Yeah.
more. But because you're here, Anthony, do you think the West Australian, with that newspaper article with the front page, do you think that was 100% necessary?
Have you seen that?
The in memoriam.
To be honest with you, I haven't had a proper read of it, but
It was only-
did.
yeah.
I did have a quick look at it, but yeah, like you said, WA footy. It's
It's in a shambles.
It's, at
Thanks,
the moment-
Fremantle. And the waffle as well. You can't say that.
Well,
or
Will
the-
Schofield's running around, so I mean, we're represented the podcast industry somehow. So at least he's going all right.
Okay, we'll get back. Sorry, I'm off on a tangent as always.
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna go. Okay.
Okay.
What is your what was your first job, mate? What was your first job?
First job, Coles,
Coles? Up the
Nice.
Coles. What is your favourite month?
September. 'cause
Pretty
it's my
bad, these
birthday.
ones. Oh, really?
Yeah,
Your
that's right.
September?
Yeah, it's
Okay, what is
September.
your favourite animal?
Have to be cheetah.
Cheetah? Okay, that's not too bad. Okay, what is your favourite food?
Pizza, simple, love it.
Oh,
margarita
okay.
Pizza.
Okay.
Oh, pineapple on pizza?
No.
No.
I'm
Yes.
Italian.
Oh, my-
It's against my culture. I
Mm.
can't do that.
You're a Perthian boy, right?
I am, yes,
Easy
sir.
as. Where do you, obviously, you live in Perth as well. Damn, these are actually off the chart. What is your favourite dessert?
Favorite dessert? Jeez.
These are shocking. Still,
These
you
are
should have done
really
these.
interesting questions. Okay,
You can do
scrap
better.
favorite dessert.
Okay, I'm sorry,
I mean,
mate.
I know people care about food a lot, but this podcast isn't for that.
Yeah.
Favorite sports team outside of the AFL?
Like in any sport? Like,
Any sport?
it's a hard one. There's a lot of sport. I mean, like I follow a bit of NBA.
Mm.
Yeah, nice.
To be honest, like I like the New York Knicks.
The Knicks?
Yeah, and there's only for one main reason. Derrick Rose. I'm not sure.
Yes.
Yeah, he's
Yep.
he's like my idol. So
Mm.
yeah, he plays for them, and yeah.
Who have you got as NBA champions?
You know what? I originally was sticking with Boston, but at the moment, I don't know, man. Like, to be honest, I would love to see Jimmy Butler get one for Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think it will happen. But yeah, I would say either Boston or Warriors. I reckon Warriors might get it.
I only just realised, I thought Josh Giddey today, I thought he was a Hawks fan, but he turned up in Collingwood, up on the media
I
match.
saw that.
Yeah, and I'm like,
actually.
I'm a bit quizzed. I'm like, hang on a sec, I
Yeah.
thought he was a Hawks fan.
It's the connection to Tommy Mitchell, I think.
Oh, really?
He was good friends
Yeah.
with Tom Mitchell, who was playing for Hawthorn last year, and then obviously he's jumped ship, and so is Josh Giddey.
Absolutely. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, well, when you get, 552,000 followers on your Instagram, it doesn't really matter which team you support.
Oh,
He's
he's got
playing-
millions, mate. He's got
Yeah.
millions. Speaking back on more the Athelete's Mind as a podcast as a whole, we've certainly had moments where we've invited a guest on, and then we've been waiting here before a guest, and our stomachs start
Oh,
to
is this you
flip, and we
whinging?
get
Is this you
nervous.
whinging? I think it's
no,
you
I
whinging.
get-
I know
No.
what you're saying.
Have you ever had a moment or a guest where you've just been nervous beforehand? You've been like, I cannot believe I'm about to meet this person.
Yeah, you can probably already guess my answer. It's Damian Martin.
Oh,
Yeah.
And there's two reasons. I got a bit of a funny story for this one. So on the
Please tell.
day, it wasn't at my studio where we interviewed him. He invited us to a place he was working at that day. I think it was something to do with MBO agency or something. But the reason I was really nervous for that day is because I was going for my license on the same
Oh,
day.
no, poor fella.
And but what made
It's a
it
double
worse?
whammy.
I kind of had to pass my test because there was no other way me and my mates could get to Damian Martin because it was in South
Oh,
Perth
no.
somewhere.
Uh-huh.
And so I was like, I went into that driving test. I think I was probably more nervous for the test, to be honest.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, I have to pass this. Ended up passing. Thank
Good
you.
on you,
Nice.
mates. Good on you.
And then, so me and my mates come over. Thank you.
You're right. You're right. Just the fake crowd in the background.
Yeah. So me and my mates come over. We're like, all right, let's go. We're all nervous because we've all watched Damian Martin growing up, and we're like, we're interviewing him, like, what the hell? And then hop in the car, and first time driving my license, yeah, it wasn't great.
Your foot on the clutch, mate. It was shaky, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Yeah, a bit of bad mergers on the freeway, but
He's a confident fella, Damian Martin. Very
is.
confident.
He's very nice too.
He's a
we
very
were
nice
blessed
guy.
to meet him as well, which is very great
yeah.
fella. And you've managed to interview him, so I couldn't hold myself through an interview. He's very, very confident. Gives you
Yeah.
the handshake. He looks you in the eyes like, "Hey, mate, how you going?"
He's
He's the most
very- yeah.
delightful fella ever.
very
It's
nice
great.
guy. But yeah, and during the interview, it was funny because he actually thought it was for a school assignment. I don't think he actually.
Oh, really?
I don't think he actually knew what we were doing because we got him through like a mate, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I hope you guys get an A." We're like, "Well, what are you talking about?"
Oh, right, yeah.
But yeah, no, I interviewed him. It was great. He's such a nice guy. His story is amazing. So I really enjoyed it, and yeah, it's an experience to me my mates will never forget.
What's some of the most motivational stories you've ever listened to? Where did like that passion for this sort of unearthing of these like behind the scenes stories have you actually found them? And if so, please enlighten.
So are you talking about like athletes?
Athletes,
like in their,
athletes mind, yeah.
Yeah, there's out of all the people that I've interviewed, there's definitely been like a few like motivational stories out there. Like one that was really like cool to me that I found was Samuel Stubbs, who
yes,
Good on him. We wanted him to get to Freo, by the way, just a side bit.
Yeah.
He's a great guy as well. I really enjoyed that interview. Because he spoke about some of the issues he had with racism, and he really spoke about the mental side of things, and he said, how he always pushes and stays positive with that stuff. And the social media presence he has as well, that was quite inspiring
TikTok
to me.
famous, mate.
Yeah, it's cool. So he's definitely up there. But yeah, all the athletes, they've all had their own unique, different stories, and it's all motivational to me.
You can't put them above each tier.
It's hard, yeah.
100%.
So Atheletes Mind is to look inside the mind of an athlete and get a general understanding. But I kind of want to do a little podcaster's mind.
100%, because we with the podcast, man.
Yeah,
podcast.
We also create stuff. We also do stuff. There's often times me and Realcar don't want to record and we don't want to show up and we want to stay home.
Especially after a loss, mate.
Especially after a loss and being lazy and all these sort of different factors. Is there a way that you use to organize your podcasting as well as school, as well as sport? How do you keep track of everything, and how do you get up every day and attack it?
A very good question. And yeah, with you boys, I can imagine you guys know firsthand it can be hard sometimes. But yeah, I can't lie, it's very hard. There was a point last year where I found it. It was probably the hardest month of my life. It was during exams. I was running the podcast. I was doing interviews, sport. Yeah, it was a lot. But it's one of those things. At the end of the day, you have good days, you have bad days. You love doing it. Yes, there's times where like you said, you don't want to record. Like even recently, I've been pretty tired with stuff. Like I'm in year 12, and I just
that's a little round of applause for that as well. No. Can I just pull that little hockey out? Hey, good stuff, mate. That's been nice.
Yeah, so you get burnt out sometimes, I think. But what keeps me sort of going is, and I'm sure it's the same with you boys, is like the supporters, really.
Oh, mate.
Like whenever I get a message like, "Oh, this really helped me out," or "I love what you're doing," it gives you like a push.
What's that little that scientific word? Like the that chemical that goes to your
dopamine.
Dopamine.
Yeah.
It gives you that. It pushes you forward.
Does,
it's like a bit of Gatorade. In running an 800 meter and you're 11 and falling flat on your face at the end. Sorry, that wasn't specific.
That was very specific.
I actually did do that in year 11. I'll kid you not. Those are year 11 and year 12 days. Amazing.
They were strange days, man.
Guildford boys for the win, mate. Sorry, Trini.
Yeah.
You're right.
Oh, you're crazy.
Sorry, mate. You still got me as a co-host. It's okay.
What do you think you've learned most from an athlete or someone that you've interviewed, or maybe even a friend or something like that about progressing yourself? Because a lot of athletes have hurdles that they have to overcome. Have you taken anything away from anyone that you've interviewed and sort of applied it to yourself, or talked someone else into applying it to their life, or
if there's like a
anything
message
like
you could pass on?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there's definitely a long list. One thing I will start with especially the high level athletes. The one thing I've noticed out of all the people I've interviewed, the high level athletes compared to the lower level ones, usually the thing separating them is what the extras that they're doing. So I've interviewed so many people, and I found this really interesting. The really successful people that I've interviewed, they write in their journal every day, or once a week. They might write in their journal what they did well in the week, what they did bad. And, that's something I've learned. I've started implementing that. Like, maybe once every couple of weeks, I might just write a little thing. Oh, I did this. I could do this better. I did this bad or whatever. Just for like reflection. Mm-hmm. That's one thing. But, it's definitely the athletes I've had on, like, it shows me how vulnerable people can be, but like also them being open. Like everyone's human at the end of the day. Like when you interview someone like Samuel
Damian
Stubbs
Martin.
or Damian Martin, like
someone human,
someone you see on TV, like kind of famous, well known. Like when you meet them in person, you're like, they're just another person. That's all it is, really. So yeah, that's definitely one thing I've learnt from interviewing people.
Except for those first few minutes of like absolutely shitting yourself. You're
Oh,
like,
Yeah,
the first few minutes
Yeah.
was so
It's like,
awkward every time.
Do I say something
Yeah.
wrong? Like, what do I do? You know? And then by the end of the podcast, you're like, oh, you know, good mates. You're like, it's just a one-on-one chat. It's
Yeah.
great. And trying to get down onto that level is what I really, truly admire about your podcast as well. Trying to like, lower yourself down, you know, put yourself in put yourself in their shoes pretty much, which is pretty much what you're doing, isn't it? And also the way you speak in, you're obviously a naturally born media person. I can tell. Like you don't stuff up at all with your deliveries. Me, I spit out like 5 different things, and at the end it's like that meme with like the you know that you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's me. You on the other hand, that's great stuff for me, mate.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know. It's really a confidence thing. Like if you look back at my first episode, I can't even watch it. Like,
Don't look at ours, mate.
I kind of I'm sure you boys, everyone who started podcasts, you cringe a little bit. Like
Shout out to our first ever co-host, Chris.
Chris,
Chris, it was 3, so there's all 3 of us. Imagine you're in Chris's spot.
Yeah.
But this is all the way back at Hen's house, and we were just
2021, mate.
we were just squeaky 17, 18-year-olds talking about random
Making stupid jokes
about
like,
Fremantle. And if you probably could find some, you
Yeah.
could probably censor a few of them and get us in trouble. But
Oh, we could get cancelled by those today. like,
I told you
it's
to
not
take it
good.
down, mate.
No, it's gonna stay up. It's history. It's history.
It's history.
Yeah. No, it's great to hear that you've taken away sort of stuff from other athletes and applied it to, yourself. I know personally, I've taken away a little bit from like Cam McCarthy, and
100%.
even when we met Damian Martin, we didn't interview him, but you get a presence. Like there's a sort of presence about these people that is just, there's something different about them. They work 10% harder. They're 5% friendlier. Like they're just 10-20% above everyone else at whatever they do. That's because they put in the extra work, and it's great to see that's being identified and pushed forward. And of course we see that with what you're doing as well. You're just telling us how you set up all your equipment before you record before the show, and oh man,
it's a
we
hassle.
couldn't.
It's such a thing, and that's what makes the videos even more like next
impressive.
level and
Yeah.
impressive, because the effort should try and go through that. Oh, what we got to do is just go here, click a button, and we can just create smack. But on the other hand, yourself, you got all this background information. I got another question with going to guests when they come onto your podcast, not knowing their story. It's obviously confronting when you actually get to know their story and you want to put it out into the media limelight, which you do. Obviously, they've given consent and whatnot. Sam Van Ruin was your last guest. And whatnot. What's like a thing you like to give off to the guests of your podcast, and what's like any bits of information and words of feedback you like give back, or are you the one who takes it all in, or what happens there? I'm just curious with like what happens with you and the guests.
Yeah,
like dynamic.
Yeah, for sure. When I interview a guest, like I'm sort of I try and put myself in the same position as the viewer. Like I'm trying to get to know them. Because there has been times I've interviewed people where I already know a bit about them, but I just try and block that out and be like, okay, I'm trying to get to know this person. That's how I base my questions around. But yeah, I just tell the person, like, because Sam Van Ruin, it was his first podcast with us, so
Bit nervous.
yeah,
You could tell he was.
yeah, of course. So I try my best to sort of calm him down, just be like, it's just a chat.
Mate, just calm down, mate. Here's a cuppa. Here's a cuppa. Have one.
You give him water, that sort of stuff. But yeah, so I don't blame him. Like people, if there's cameras around or microphones, they get a bit put off by it.
Oh yeah, very shy.
Yeah.
Do you want a biscuit? Sorry, guys. I'm still going.
No, you're good.
Oh my god.
But yeah, but like people like us, we do it all the time, so we get used to it. But people like them, you have to keep in mind it might be their first time, they might not be used to it, so you just have to remind them it's just a chat. Sit down, speak your mind. And that's all it's about, really, and just making sure.
It's all right.
Lovely.
Sorry, guys. It's all right. It can be nerve-wracking. Don't worry. Like even I get like nervous with this sort of stuff. But what's your prep with the podcast, especially with trying to study case them? How much like background information do you do? Because I'm really interested, because with these podcasts, you have to go really more
Yeah.
in depth. And all we got to do is have a look at the scoreboard and be
Yeah,
like,
we just check
"We're
the
shit."
footy.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you have to do all this sort of stuff. So I'm really interested. Like, how do you do this? Like,
Yeah, well, I can't lie. It sounds kind of bad if I put it this way, but you kind of have to stalk them.
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
like social media
it's fair.
accounts.
It's fair.
Yeah, you know, it's how you find out about them. But yeah, that's how you base your questions around.
Do you message their mates?
I have done that before. Yeah, I have done that before. I'm not going to say who, but yeah.
Oh yeah. For their privacy.
you know,
Don't release the sources. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
no, I have done that before. But I can't lie, like especially with the this doesn't sound professional at all, but with the more well-known athletes.
Don't worry, it's going on the socials after.
It's all right. If you got the Chat GBT's been a bit of a hand. You can go on there and just put in their name. It'll give you like it just you know, saves maybe an hour of work. Give you like maybe a bit of information, and then I'll base my questions. Obviously, I don't use that for the questions.
Nah, mate, you've just been
That's
around it.
so
You just
smart.
don't no, that's actually
No,
really
actually
smart.
rate that.
Yeah,
Like,
because obviously everyone at school uses
Yeah.
it, and I'm like, why don't I just use it for like
do
some
they actually?
information?
Is that like a big thing?
It is, but it's people, teachers, and all that catch onto it.
We're fossils now. We're out of high school now, and
It's my third year at uni. Like,
why have I missed out on this? I missed out on the best part of year 12 with that.
I'm not gonna lie,
What?
it's kind of a good thing you didn't have it because it's made everyone so lazy. Like people can't even do work without it. Like that Chat GPT.
That's how sad it's getting.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's another question, serious one. With the effect of AI nowadays,
Mm.
and especially with them taking over, potential jobs and tasks. I don't want a robot playing AFL in 20 years. Am I right? Is this
God,
going to
yeah,
happen?
no.
I think sports will be safe. I think
sports will be safe.
We
It just
might
won't
not be.
happen.
we'll see.
Robot fighting. You never
That's
know.
already a thing. They have the little.
Real Steel, that movie. Don't
Yeah, sorry
Yeah.
guys. I'm off on a tangent as always.
Oh, we love your tangents. Though.
Sorry, it gets a little bit of a laughter, but yeah, still
That's
you
why
were
we pay
saying
you the big bucks.
zero. You should be paying me to be here. Thank
You should be paying me to be here. You're the main host.
Sorry, got a guest, mate. Be mature. Be
No,
mature.
we do this all the time. I'm sorry. So Atheletes Mind, you've been at it for a few months now, and you've amassed a pretty substantial following for the point you're at. And I think an important thing to note is like you just have to remember like you're very early on because we do this all the time. We're not that big, but we're still very young, and so
Very
we're
young.
like, we're like,
Yeah.
wow.
It's also
What actually is the goal for Athletes Mind? Do you have a number? Do you have an interview guest that you
Yeah.
want? Like, where are you headed with your podcast?
Yeah, so when it comes to making goals for the podcast or whatever it is in life, really, I think it's important to focus on smaller goals rather than an end goal. Because sometimes if you
Sorry.
focus-
Sorry. Mate, that's Twitter. God damn it, put it away. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
No, I love that sound.
No.
Yeah, so if you focus too much on an end goal, you kind of lose sight of the smaller ones, if that makes sense. So I think that's important. But for me, I think the Athlete's Mind, like just with the name and the brand, I feel like it can really go anywhere. Like I like to be, I don't want to sound up myself, but I like to be confident in that there's so many things it can branch out into. Like we got roaming, we got the podcast.
Mate, we
Mind
killed
Up.
ourselves with Flagmantle. You've already aced it. You've got like the thing that can go anywhere.
Yeah,
it's
no,
humble.
no,
I
it's-
love this, mate. Get him on the potty more often. Jeez.
Thank you, boys. But yeah,
You're
no, but a bit of a saying I always like to stick by, whether you find it cringe or not. But yeah, I always say aim for the moon because even if you don't make it, you'll land somewhere amongst the stars.
Oh,
And the
that's a good
reason I
one.
love that is like literally you hear the cliche, dream big, but it's so true because even if you don't make it, you'll still find some sort of success in that. So that's the mentality I like to stick by.
You know what? Maturing is realizing, silly quotes like that actually mean like actual
Yeah.
shit. Like
There's a reason why they're huge quotes and everyone knows
exactly.
of them.
Maturing is realizing that, which is great. I think we're getting to the near end, but obviously we've got some amazing questions. So
yeah,
we're going to get
excited
into
for
these because we've got this runs. I'm going to go start off the top. This is really funny. And this is from. Oh, should we play the hotkey
what is
first? I need to play the
this?
hotkey. Can I play the hotkey?
Go on.
Oh my
Yeah, go
Lord.
for it. Hit 'em.
Mate, you sent the bloody questions in, so we're gonna bloody answer them. That's how it works here. You're listening to Q&A here on Flagmantle Podcast.
Oh my Lord! I'm sorry you had to hear that, Anthony. Mate.
It's good. It's good.
It's
I love
so bad. That was made last year. Haven't bothered to change it. Okay, this is from James McCaig.
Oh God.
He says, if people say Jimmy Butler is Michael Jordan's son, Tony Bellouard, has to be Tony Armstrong's stepbro. You look like Tony Armstrong. I'm sorry, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, so James McKay, he's a good mate of mine at my school. He's always
Good on
on to
him.
me like about Tony Armstrong. I wasn't aware of who he was initially, but then he showed me a photo, and I was like, oh, that does look a little bit like me.
You look like a younger version of it.
Yeah,
It's uncanny, bro. I love it. It's great.
Ben Thomas 26. BT is your dad. Who's BT?
BT, I had him on the pod actually, episode 2.
Oh yes.
He plays Colts for East Perth. Yeah, good lad. That's just BT really saying BT things.
Oh, lovely. Connor Roberts, what inspired you to start Atheletes Mind, and how did you get the idea?
Yeah, so obviously mentioned it before, but just really came that combination of media, sport, the passion I had for diving into the mental side of things, brought it all together, made a podcast, and keep going strong. Shout out to Connor as well. He's does a bit of the roaming with West Coast Eagles Sizzler as well. He's a big help on the Athletes Mind.
Good on him. How can both WA teams improve on their seasons? Another one from Connor.
West Coast, hate to say it.
Let's get Harley Reid.
It's Harley Reid this season. Just develop the young players as best we can.
Fremantle.
Freo, complicated.
You're in a shit show.
Yeah,
Just say it, mate. Just
No,
say
no,
it.
no,
We're not
no,
offended.
You can say it. We say it every week.
Look, they have potential, but we'll see what happens. with them.
What has happened with them?
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled,
Shout out Stephen
led
A.
astray, run
Millie
Sorry, mate.
Mac 0. Anthony, what are your thoughts on Collingwood, specifically Jamie Elliott?
Yep, I know you sent that question in. Honestly, I love Collingwood. West Coast fan, but honestly, I love what Collingwood are doing. Jamie Elliott, I'm not a fan of him, but Collingwood is a team I like him.
Why aren't you a fan of Jamie Elliott?
I don't know. Is it, it's just those players. You just look at him. He's like, it just annoys you, eh?
It's like that
just,
punchable face.
Yeah, a bit of that. Like,
Yeah.
I
no
got
disrespect. He is a good athlete.
don't
He's a
have-
great player.
Does Real Car have a punchable face?
No, I don't think he does. No,
Oh,
I
thank
thought
you.
you boys are fine.
I'll
So-
punch
You
your
put him
face.
on a
Don't worry
spot.
about that,
You put
Real
him on
Car.
the
I'll take care of that.
We got Trent _Laufer.
Oh,
Sorry, I've
yeah,
spent this.
that's-
I probably said that wrong. Does Anthony still think Elijah Hewitt will still win the Rising Star?
Oh, that's a call.
Yeah.
I actually called similar
okay.
things like that.
Oh, jeez, this is the worst take I've ever made. I can even admit that. Look, Elijah Hewitt, he's Scotch boy. Actually, he was Scotch boy. I was lucky enough to see some of his games in the PSA. No, I don't think he will be rising star. Like he's injured at the moment, but I still think he has potential to be a good player in the coming years. When I see a player, I see a bit of,
Oh no,
Potentially.
he'll be good. I think it's just been a bit phased by the big time,
Big
especially
time. Yeah,
when he missed that in the derby.
Mm.
Maybe his experience and also the ankle injury as well. Like
Yeah.
my brother was umpiring that. He umpires
Oh.
the waffle goal umpiring. He did that game, and then the game started, 10 seconds in, Elijah did his ankle.
Yeah, it was early on.
Unfortunate stuff. Someone better get in touch with him. Andrew Gull 06. Any tips on how to get more of the footy like you, mate?
Well, I play thirds footy, so
Oh.
not
yes.
exactly.
Sports.
I play thirds.
I'm not exactly
Yes.
the guy to ask, but yeah, look, just attack hard. If you want to be cheap, you can be cheap. Just as long as when you get it, you do something good with it. That's all the advice I can give.
Mate, effort is all that matters. That's all that
Yeah.
matters.
Exactly.
Nicholas _Siciliano. Sorry, I said that wrong.
Right, you're right.
Who has influenced you the most to start the Athlete's Mind?
That is a hard
Take
question.
as long as you want, because
There-
that's the last one.
There is a long list, man. Like there's so much people that help out the Athlete's Mind, even like behind the scenes.
Let's
Like,
name him. Let's name him.
geez,
Credit.
Shout out.
100% my dad.
100% dad?
Like he's always.
Good on
At
you,
first, he was a bit like, "Oh, you want to start a podcast?" But he gets to meet, AFL players, so he likes it.
Oh yeah, he's like, have the whole couch, have the living room. It's
Yeah, definitely my dad. Actually, the guy who sent in that question, Nicholas, he does the roaming for us.
oh, good on you, Nicholas.
He's always so supportive. All my mates, Talon Rankin, Connor Roberts, who sent in a question as well. My whole circle, like Ryan Kazmarzik, Alex Kazmarzik, they came on a few. They're big Freo fans. They came on a few review episodes. Yeah, my whole circle and just all those people influenced me massively. And it's a really long list, but I would have to narrow it down to those.
Just shout out to the crew behind
Yeah, the crew,
Athlete's Mind.
100%.
Shout out to the crew. We've actually gone to the questions of the post. What is your opinion on Sizzlers and Anthony's hot take that the Eagles make the top 8? Ryan _Kaz or Cax.
Yeah, so, you know what?
We've all made silly mistakes. Don't worry. Will Schofield thought Freo would be
He's-
top 4 or top 8, but we ain't.
Yeah,
Don't
look,
worry.
predictions are hard.
Yeah.
Predictions are
Yeah.
really hard.
Will Schofield also said Eagles were going to make the 8 in a podcast before the season started.
He did
Yeah,
say that,
don't
yeah.
worry. He's gonna eat his own words very soon. But don't worry. The amount of love you got in the comment section was good. Andrew Gull said, "King, my boy, looking good, Rig. Hey, Tony."
Yeah.
You got the hype man in there.
Yeah, got that. That's
Oh,
great.
I'd love to see it.
That's pretty much it. But I'm
yeah.
gonna just the last couple ones.
Yeah, go for it.
With Tasmania now, just today been announced as the team. Which unlucky players do you think will have to get kicked out of WA to go to Tasmania?
Jeez.
Alex Pearce.
That's a bit stiff.
You know what?
Sorry.
It's hard to name players. Like, first of all, I have to say, I think it's pretty cool that Tasmania's coming in.
this-
I think that's awesome.
Shout out.
Like, yeah.
This is a terrible question. You're just blacklisting
sorry.
players from
I'm
your
sorry.
podcast.
That's
Like,
what we always
athletes aren't
do.
going to want to come on.
you can't
Yeah.
give names. Or, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to narrow it down to
Yeah.
players, but I can't really name anyone. But it's
Mm.
yeah. I mean, I guess it'll be interesting to see. 100% it'll be interesting. But yeah.
We're also
Yeah.
very last. I'm so sorry.
No,
Yeah.
go
Because
ahead.
you're an upcoming podcast and you've just started out. We've been there when you're in that crunch time between those 400 to like 1,000 followers,
Yeah.
and you're trying to like get that brand out there. Is there like what sort of like bits of information have you taken in to improve upon that? Because you're going to go places, and we know it. We're just
Thank
waiting
you.
for that like little click, that click, and then bang, and you're going to find it, and then you're going to go skyrocket. It's going to go crazy because it takes a while and it's such a big effort. It's a lot of commitment and whatnot, and repeated episodes of just random stuff we used to talk about. Oh my lord!
I think the main thing, and shout out to you boys. You guys actually told me this early on. Is stay consistent. And
That was him, not me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right.
yeah. So
it's all
yeah.
right,
Thank you. I asked you for
Oh,
that.
no worries.
But, yeah.
We say
'cause
that to anyone.
I'm honoured.
It's true, isn't it?
It
Yeah.
is. It is because I think people think that they just want it overnight. Like they think it's just going to happen. But you need to be patient.
They quit after a
consistent.
month. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what happens. So stay patient, stay consistent, do what you're doing, and then I believe the rest will take care of itself. I try not to focus too much on numbers, but I just do what I'm doing, and hopefully the rest will take care of itself.
Well, mate, it's been a pleasure.
It's been a good podcast.
Mate, it's been a good little discussion.
Thank you very
with
much for
Anthony
coming out.
Bellouard. Mate, Athletes Mind, go to his
Where
socials.
can we find your stuff?
Yeah, we're on everything at the moment: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, podcast platforms, everywhere.
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 Go look at his content.
Thank you, boys.
And
I
everywhere-
appreciate
Yeah,
it.
everything
check
else.
it out. Very high level content over there. Very interesting.
Until next
and-
week, mate.
Yeah, until
Or to
well,
the next episode.
until tomorrow-ish.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
All right.
See you then, mate.
See you then. Thank you for listening to the Flagmantle podcast. It's been an honor hosting, hasn't it?
It surely has been, mate.
Can you
It's been
please, we are begging you 5 stars on Spotify. It means the world to
I'm
us.
on
It
my
lets
knees.
us
I'm on my
get
knees.
off your knees, mate.
Yes, I'm on my knees,
But
guys. Please.
It helps us push it out to as many people as we can. Thank you for listening. Follow us on Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, anything else, Real Car,
Just
Twitter,
anything
YouTube.
social media, honestly.
Anything social media, we have it. So please follow us on there. 5 stars.
Except
don't
for
forget.
OnlyFans.
We're also on
have
Apple
OnlyFans.
Podcasts, so if you listen to this on Apple Podcasts, follow us through there. Google Podcasts, the same. And thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.
Peace.